Does my vote really count? Have you ever found yourself wondering out loud and asking yourself, really, is there any point in exercising my franchise? Or in Nigerian parlance, do you ever feel like I cannot come and go and kill myself? When it comes to voting, there's been a lot of apathy in the land. But as we go to the polls in February 2019, can we expect for things to change with a lot of people going on about their PVC? My name is Isabella Akinseye, and this is Politico Politica.
Politico Politica with Isabella Akinseye.
Our guest today is an entrepreneur. He is the co-founder and pioneer chief operating officer of Crest Agro Product. He's the founder and lead consultant of Point Nexus Limited, a specialized consultancy company. Prior to becoming an entrepreneur, he has over 12 years of work experience delivering operational efficiency in various companies like Kimberly-Clark, Sub-Saharan Africa, Sanofi Aventis, and Nestle Nigeria PLC. He holds a master's degree in business administration and strategy from the Lagos Business School of the Pan-Atlantic University, a graduate diploma in procurement and supply chain management from the UK, and a BSc in economics from University of Jos. He holds a professional membership of the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply UK. He hopes to create 100,000 jobs in Nigeria by creating businesses that dominate strategic value chains in the agriculture sector of Nigeria and through public service. He's currently running for a seat in the Benue State House of Assembly representing Adoka Ugboju. He is Leonard Eteh Ebute. Leonard, welcome to Politico Politica.
Thank you, Isabella.
So on today's show, we'll be discussing voter apathy. You'll agree that there's been a lot of media noise when it comes to the PVC. Before the cutoff date, people were encouraged to go get their permanent voter's card. But is this really enough to curb the issue of voter apathy?
No, it isn't. So to curb any issue, you have to look at the root cause. I mean, people will turn up for candidates that they believe in, candidates that inspire them. In the last few elections in the north, people turned up for General Buhari that way in the northern part of Nigeria because he was, like him, hate him, a messianic figure. They romanticized about him and they turned up for him in that part of town. The southern part of Nigeria, where education is a little bit better and people are more independent thinking, that wasn't the case because the alternatives available to them weren't inspiring enough. And so you see that in the voting pattern for Nigeria, Northerners seem to have performed better and Southerners seem to shy away. And the reason is what I just told you. It's not a Nigerian thing, it's a global thing. But right now in Nigeria, we are underperforming because you look at the trend and it's only about 35% of persons that come out to vote in an election.
Okay, Nigeria, when we think of voter apathy, young people on Twitter, the elite, people who are constantly commenting on social media easily come to mind. What do you think is responsible for voter apathy in that demographic?
People cannot correlate between their vote and the progress they want to see in Nigeria. And when you cannot see that, you see the exercise as one in futility, especially when you do have other things to do with your time. And so you tend to see people venting on social media, voting on Facebook and Twitter and all of that because it's convenient. But because they cannot correlate between their vote and the development they seek, then they sit back. Now, the point is that shouldn't justify being apathetic to the political terrain. Actually, the reason for political participation should be the underperformance of the political class. It should inspire younger people who are going to be here tomorrow to bear the brunt of today's poor leadership to want to change that situation. But unfortunately, when bread and butter is competing with destiny, bread and butter always wins.
So you're saying stomach infrastructure would lead people to
A hungry man is not a thinking man. When people unemployment rate is rising, youth unemployment rate is rising, the economy is going bad. The worst time for businesses in Nigeria since 1999 is right now. Entrepreneurs are folding up. People are piling away to Canada and the US in droves. This is not a time for people to begin to look 4 or 5 years if they cannot think of today and tomorrow's feeding.
Let's look at the issue of voter intimidation, violence at the polls. Do you think that scares people away from exercising their franchise?
Statistically, no, because the percentage of voter violence in any election is statistically insignificant. In the last election, for example, you can count the number of polling stations where there were issues. The last election in Osun, I think it was only about 6 polling stations or so that there were issues. So you don't even have a local government-wide crisis, not to talk of a world-wide crisis. You have pockets of polling stations here and there. And so statistically it's insignificant, but from a psychological point of view, they feel that there was violence in one remote place can make someone feel that there may be violence in his own place. But again, that goes to show the level of interest in politics. If you know that this is important for tomorrow's future, I mean, you should be able to brace those psychological barriers and still participate.
And very quickly, what's the solution to voter apathy?
I think ordinarily people should be sufficiently motivated by the poverty in the land to want to participate in the political process. But obviously that's not the case. Nigerians do not believe that politics is going to change Nigeria. There's that psychological barrier for us to overcome. What can help us overcome that barrier is when popular figures begin to venture into politics, is when the Facebook enforcers themselves move into the political terrain. It is when you and myself that are so-called voices move into that terrain, and then we carry along our army of supporters and followers. Then they will have an inspirational figure to follow.
Thank you, Leonard, for your contributions on the topic of the day. Do you have contributions of your own? Please do go online, tweet at PP with Isabella, and use the hashtag Politico Politica. You can also comment on our social media platforms on Instagram as well as Facebook. Politico Politica is the handle. Politico Politica with me, your host Isabella Akinseye, will be back shortly. Do stay with us.